Hi folks, welcome to another episode of Methanol Madness brought to us by Daltons Landscape Supplies. AJ Batt returns to the studio. Welcome AJ, a few weeks away abroad.
Yeah, it's been pretty hectic, hasn't it? Did a week working up in Singapore, came home for a few days, and then we shot across to the USA, bit of moonshine, sort of looking around how they do it over there, and then 4 nights with the World of Outlaws at Charlotte. So yeah, that was great, but I just cannot wait to get to Ruapuna this coming Saturday night.
Yeah, well, 4 days at Charlotte Speedway would be pretty impressive for anybody. Joining us on the video link is Louise Smith. Welcome, Louise. You got to see some racing out at Ellesmere on the weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to feel like Speedway season now. No weekends off and the weather's getting warmer, so it's really great.
Good stuff. Well, to get the show started, it's Crash of the Week as usual, and this week we have a look at Bay Park, and the sprint cars are racing, and Daryl Angus goes for a heck of a ride here, AJ.
Yeah, he gets pinched down there. You've got the red car of Greg Pickerel sort of changed down the lane a little, and poor old Angus, he got caught in there, didn't he? And boy, that's a bell ringer, it's a car wrecker.
Yeah, it's very hard to adjust on those restarts. Everybody's got their foot right up it, and Daryl really felt the impact of Greg Pickerel's car just really coming down the lane, as you said, and Daryl being totally on the accelerator. So difficult to know if he'll get that car going again, but it falls pretty hard on the nose there too, and that was a heck of a crash. So time to move on to the Pro BM review, and a couple of meetings we'll look at. The first one is Ellesmere. We had the TQs and the midgets competing there. Louise, the TQs were pretty competitive, but it was Ben Morgan that took out the feature from Jeremy Webb and Scott Bailey. How did you see some of the racing?
Yeah, it was really great racing all day actually. It was a super slick track. It was hot and dusty, and the super saloons obviously contributed to that track condition, but Scott Bailey had a really good day, especially in that heat race that he won from a massive lead in front of the rest of the field. And there was also strong performances as well from Jeremy Webb, Dylan Forsey, Ethan Smith. The list goes on of talented TQ drivers that are in the field at the moment, but Ben Morgan was definitely well on his marks to come away with that first feature win of the season for that team.
Yeah, well done to you, Ben, holding out the very fast finishing Jeremy Webb. Of course, everyone's sharpening their skills up for the New Zealand TQ Championship happening at Nelson. Scott Bailey got the fastest lap, 15.74, and a quick shout out to Logan Scammell. Logan, congratulations to you, mate. I watched some of your racing there in that new car of yours, and you really had that thing going along. You're a mid-packer, but you were very competitive on that day. The other class that was racing there were the midgets, and it was Jack Lowe taking out the feature race from Liam McCoubrey and Mitch Hill. Some pretty good racing there, Louise. I noticed that Tom Lumsden got a track record there, 14.99, and then parked his car on the inside. It appears that there were some difficulties with the Lumsden car.
Yeah, the midget racing all day was actually fantastic. I don't think you'll find anybody that was there that wouldn't rave about the slide jobs between Liam McCoubrey and Jack Lowe. They were fantastic all day. But yeah, definitely unfortunate for Tom to see that issue from last week continuing, but he definitely knows he's got a rocket ship, so it'll be interesting to see what comes of it when they get that issue under control.
Yeah, exactly. And AJ, you spent a bit of time out at Ellesmere on Saturday. Did you watch Tom Lumsden's car go around that first race?
Yeah, no, I didn't get there in time to see Tom Lumsden running, but the second heat race, that battle between Liam McCoubrey and Jack Lowe, it was one for the ages. It was an absolute scorcher, and they were both getting right into it. And by then the track was pretty much up by the fence, and what a taste of things to come.
Yeah, you certainly had to be brave as a midget car driver to get any traction and forwards momentum, and certainly there's plenty of talent here in Canterbury at the moment. Of note, Tom Lumsden's XB4 motor, that custom built one by Angus McLeod, really performing well. I think they had a driveline issue with the car, so that's why they parked it on the infield. Hopefully Tom's going to be available for this week's racing. Jacob Mitchell, congratulations to you, Jacob. You took out your first heat win, and this is your rookie season in midgets this year. Congratulations to you. And Jay Chadwick had a frightening moment, AJ. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but he backed his midget into the wall, lost grip, and it was a terrifying moment there.
Oh yeah, went in very, very hard, and like they're just trying to sort of get things set up with that new machine, and they'll come off the ropes, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, well, Jay participating in the midgets, that'll be 12 registered to Christchurch. And of course, we've got such a big year this year with the Access Man New Zealand Midget Car Title. We are expecting good things out of our local boys. Well, look, folks, the next meeting we'll look at is the meeting at Invercargill, and the Southern Sprint cars made their way down to Invercargill, and it was our local boys taking out all the heat races and the feature, and it was Jamie Duff taking out a heat race, his brother Steve and Caleb Bourne taking out the other 2 races, and in the final it was Jamie Duff. He won the event from Adam Evans and Matt Anderson, so that's good form for the Hydrolink War of the Wings coming up shortly, AJ.
Yeah, I think Jamie, like last year they had their moments, didn't they? And they had a difficult time around the Nationals. Towards the end of the season, the Duff man was back. And this year, it's almost as though they've hit the reset button, and 3 from 3 against, some pretty good lineups. It tells me the Duff man is really going to be up on the wheel this year. Super impressed with Adam Evans. This young guy, it appears as though they're going to head a little down the path of Jacob McIntyre, where Jacob decided, we're going to learn so much racing down, at the southern tracks. They've got to come up here with where the big dogs are. And look what it did for McIntyre. He went from a pretender to a contender. And I think the same's going to happen with Adam Evans. He's a hell of a talent. And then you got old Matt Anderson, the bean counter, who, he just runs such a tight ship, and everything's calculated. This guy is fast, and I was going through some statistics a wee while ago, and he is consistently in the top 6 in time trials for the Hydrolink War of the Wings, and expecting big things from Matt.
Yeah, he's slightly understated, isn't he? And I think he is an
absolutely.
accountant by trade anyway, so he's certainly tight, but running a sprint car, I suppose you've got to be there. Very expensive to run, so plenty of good form happening in the sprint cars, and of course we've got the Hydrolink War of the Wings coming to the track in the next few weeks, as well as some other big sprint car events also. Well, folks, time to take a short break, and after the break it'll be Dirt Track News. Welcome to Wellington's largest caravan and RV shop. CB Caravans and RV Centre look after repairs and maintenance, and they are leak specialists. CB Caravans and RV Centre import UK caravans. Need to sell? They can help. CB Caravans and RV Centre, your caravan solution. Catch up with Will and Wendy today. The team at Edge Parts and Performance have got safety covered. They're proud stockists of Simpson safety products. Helmets, head and neck restraints, harnesses, racing suits, gloves, shoes and more. Simpson safety products provide an unparalleled level of comfort, performance and protection. Come and check out their new range of Simpson suits, lightweight 2-layer SFI approved suits that offers flexibility and functionality all in one. They've also got the Red Devil carbon fibre lightweight racing helmet in stock. Well, plenty of parts going out of Edge Parts and Performance this time of year. Time to move on to Dirt Track News, brought to us by CB Caravans and RV Centre, and we'll take a look at Bay Park Speedway. They had their sprint car feature in the weekend. Rodney Wood took out his first feature for the year, and the CB Caravans and RV Centre sponsored driver Dean Brindle, continuing with great form there, took out another second placing from Michael Pickens. I see Max Guilford picked up 4th from Ryan O'Connor and Jamie Larson. So AJ, those North Island sprint car drivers are pretty predictable these days, and it looks like Dean Brindle's really coming on.
Yeah, I sort of had a feeling a couple of 3 years ago that Dino was starting just maybe to flatten out in his career, but what we saw of him last year was super good, and he's a hell of a good guy, so it's really neat that he's starting to pick up that momentum again, and when he's got a belly full of fire, watch out for Dean Brindle.
Yes, he's certainly reinvigorated his sprint car career in the last couple of years, and we look forward to seeing Dino down at Ruapuna this year. The next feature, of course, was the midgets, and Brad Mosen taking out his 3rd midget car feature at Bay Park. A great performance by him. He was very dominant, from Michael Pickens coming a long way back in the pack, and Aaron Hodgson taking out 3rd position. So fairly predictable stuff again, AJ. Those 3 favoured runners perhaps for the title coming up here in February.
Yeah, I don't think that the podium is going to miss too many of those guys there. There's a couple of notable exceptions who aren't in the result sheet, but Peter Honeybell's over in the States racing right now. Michael Pickens, what a performance it was from him. He had to do a heck of a lot of work to get up into that 2nd spot.
Well, joining us on the show is Brad Mosen, and Brad, another feature win for you, but more importantly, that was your third Bay of Plenty championship.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's they let me know when we got to the track that we'd won the last two in a row. So it was awesome to get the third Bay of Plenty championship. You know, it's one of those events that's become part of the midget calendar that we all want to win. So it was great to get that for three in a row, and it was an awesome night. You know, we had the car was on rails as it always seems to be at the moment, and things just worked out. So it was great.
Well, tell us what's happening for you at the moment, mate. You seem to have reignited your career, and you're certainly performing better than ever. And that car is really going well, as you just alluded to. What's happening for the team at the moment?
There's a lot of things that play into it. You know, the car is obviously exactly to my liking. You know, it's very stable and it's got plenty of grip, which is basically all we could ask for as a driver. So. Wayne and Tim, they've really developed that car to a point where I'm really comfortable in that. And, personally, I'm just in a really good place, you know, like mentally with the level of fitness that I've sort of pushed myself towards the last few years. It's made a huge difference in my driving and my whole life, to be fair. So that's played a huge part in it. The team's a great team. We're all gelling, and they give me great gear, so it's just the total package, and it's working really well.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious the team is going well, and certainly the preparation of that car looks perfect. The setup seems to be spot on every time. But tell us about this marathon run that you've done, mate. Louise was telling us last week, after a meeting a few weeks ago, you went out and run a marathon. Yeah,
it was something I sort of just signed up for in a bit of a whim. You know, I've ran a marathon before. I've ran a few halves and done a few trails, but the marathon's a bit of a different beast altogether. But something that I've really enjoyed. You know, over the past few years, I've really sort of sank my teeth into my running and learned a lot about that sport. And it wasn't the best timing. It was the day after the opening night in Kiki, so I had to travel back to Auckland and had about 3 hours sleep the night before, but still had a good run and managed to get it done. So. Yeah, it was good, and it was sort of a good milestone, just start of the season, something to take off and work towards to really make sure that I was going to be fit enough when I got in the car.
Well, it's pretty impressive stuff, mate, and we don't think of too many Speedway drivers really taking up their fitness that seriously. There's a few guys down here. I know Matthew Levisage does, and Tyler Warnock and a few guys, and certainly that seems to be a real edge for you at the moment. You've always been a great driver. We've always observed you duking it out with Michael Pickens all the time, and we do remember you here in 2015 taking out the New Zealand title. That was a pretty impressive run you had here at Ruapuna Speedway. But more importantly, mate, tell us how your preparations are going for this year. You must be feeling pretty confident. You probably don't want to say too much, but certainly it couldn't go any better than it has.
Yeah, that's right, you know, but the thing about this sport, and especially New Zealand titles, for some reason, you know, of all, I think I've probably led about 6 and I've won 1. And you can just, with a guy like Michael around, you can just never be complacent, as you saw last year. So doesn't matter what sort of form I seem to be on and how well the race seems to be going. Until I actually cross that line in first, I'm definitely not going to, think I've got anything in the bag. So I've learned that the hard way, and if we win it, until we do that, then I'm definitely not going to feel like we've got anything in the bag.
Well, you're clearly mentally tougher and your physicality's getting stronger as well. But take us back to that moment last year. We all felt for you, mate. You led that race so well, and Michael sneaking up, only to get past you on the very last lap. There wasn't even an opportunity to take him back again. I mean, what did it feel like in the cab?
Obviously really frustrating at the time, but looking back on it, it is what it is. It's just part of racing against Michael. He's just always going to be there and pushing, and it's part of what I love about midget racing, is having a guy like that you really have to be at your best just to beat him. So it is what it is. I've moved on, and we've laughed about it since then, so it is what it is.
Well, it's been great, your rivalry over the last 10 or 12, maybe possibly even 20 years with Michael Pickens, and certainly the names that come to the fore when we talk about midget car racing is Michael Pickens, Brad Mosen, and then a few drivers underneath you. Who are some of the bigger hopes in the North Island at the moment? We certainly watch the likes of Aaron Hodgson. There's Peter Honeybell, who's just overseas at the moment, and even Brock Maskovich seems to be going pretty well as well. What are your opinions?
Yeah, those guys are definitely at the point end of the field. There's a lot of young talent coming through. Young guys like Shaden Austin, he's had a good run recently at Bay Park. Young Ben Morrison, he's a rookie this season. The sport's in a good place. It's for a long time I've sort of looked over my shoulder or just around the pits and just wondered who's the next sort of the wave, after me and Michael eventually retire, and now I'm starting to really see a pool starting to develop. So that's good for the sport, and it's good to see. And it's always kind of been there, but yeah, especially this year, it feels like it might be something different. So that's exciting. We'll just have to wait and see.
I think you're right about the concentration of good midget car drivers now. Even the South Island's got a couple of drivers that are really starting to step up. North Islanders have always had it over the South Islanders for a long, long time, but certainly we think we've got a few contenders down here when it comes to the Access Man New Zealand Midget Car Title. The last comment, Brad, I might ask you about, which is possibly a little controversial. What's your views on Western Springs at the moment? It's a heck of a time for you guys up there.
I mean, probably everyone that you speak to has a different story and a different opinion. Me personally, having been around the sport closely with Dad being the promoter, I've sort of learnt that, until you actually get to the track, you really can't take anything anybody says, including the council, seriously. So until we get to the track, unfortunately, I'm just going to be hopeful and just see what happens. It's a tough game that John and Bruce are playing with the council, especially given the circumstances. So I feel for them. I just hope that it's going well. And until we show up to the track, I'm not too sure what to think. But we have got it in the schedule, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, as we've said on the show, we really hope that Western Springs can hold itself together. They've got a 100-year anniversary coming up shortly, AJ, and it'd be great to see them get to that milestone. And if we think about the last 10, 20 years for Western Springs, they've had to fight tooth and nail every year to keep themselves going.
They haven't. Look, one of the things I started doing but haven't finished, I actually started writing a book on the history of Western Springs. The Speedway opened in 1929, and about 2 weeks after the opening was the first noise complaint. So, noise complaints about Western Springs are nothing new. Yeah. But I think, there is something very, very special about Western Springs, and I'm fortunate enough to have been to some great venues around Australia, New Zealand and the US, and Western Springs is right up there. It's one of those places you walk through the gate and the hair on the back of your neck stands in the air. There's something special. It's got a really special feeling. And I'll tell you what else is special is that rivalry between Michael Pickens and Brad Mosen. Like, my memory goes back to the Barry Butterworth, Trevor Morris, and Morris got killed in a car crash, and next thing it's Barry Butterworth and Ted Tracy, and then Barry sort of faded from the scene, and then it was Ted Tracy and Brett Horrobin. But this rivalry between Michael Pickens and Brad Mosen is very, very special, and like if you were going to put $5 on a Quinella for the New Zealand Midget Car Championship, you'd put it on those two, but you're probably only going to get about $1.02 back.
Exactly. Well, look, Brad, just finally, mate, what's some of your best thoughts of you and Michael going at it from time to time? Have you got a favourite memory that comes to mind?
Yeah, they're not all favourites. There's plenty that come to mind. Most of them, him dusting me, but we've had a couple of good races. One that I was pretty bitter at the time, but looking back on it, I'm really proud of is when we ran 1-2 in the USAC race in the States. Yeah, that was a pretty big achievement in terms of me and him racing together. Even just what we managed to do, and it wasn't necessarily a career, but we kind of made it a career for a couple of Kiwis up in America racing. I think we both did we did something that's pretty special in terms of getting long-term, like full-time secured rides up there and giving a good run, in the GFC kind of, for whatever reason, GFC or maybe not enough talent. We didn't really get to stay up there, but it's still something to be proud of. And we've had some real good battles, plenty of run-ins and cross moments, but heaps of good moments and heaps of fist bumps and shaking hands after some good racing. So it's been an awesome time racing against that guy, and he's really pushed me to different to a higher level than sometimes I wanted to be at. But that's just part of the fun, and that's pretty much. Without him, I definitely wouldn't love what I do as much as I do. So yeah, huge credit to him, and it's been great to have him in the sport.
Yeah, it's really sustained its time in history now, and certainly people will remember that. One other thought, just while I've got you on the line, is I remember when you and Michael took those Synergy V8s to the Chili Bowl, and I think you both qualified or won your heat race and made it to the feature. Do you have any memories about that?
Yeah, that was awesome. That was it's kind of alluding to what I said before, like the Kiwis in America taking it to the top of the basically the best drivers in the world, and that was especially special because it was obviously the home built cars with the Synergy engine, and we had the film crew there, and it was like the dream week for both cars. It was kind of a fairy tale story having both cars make the A main, and that was a really cool and unique experience. I'll never forget, and I'm stoked that they got it on film so I can show my son and watch it every now and then if I ever feel like going back to it.
Oh, that's great. Hey, good to get your thoughts there, Brad. We're really looking forward to seeing you, Michael, and some of the other Aucklanders coming down for our big championship this year, the Access Man New Zealand Midget Car Title. He's a great peddler, is Brad Mosen. We've already spoken about some of his good traits, but he will go down as one of the better drivers here in New Zealand as well.
Oh, absolutely. And in any other era, I suspect that Brad would have won a lot more New Zealand championships. It's a bit like, imagine being a good flanker back when Richie McCaw was playing. Everything's going to be a battle. Just talking about that Chili Bowl thing, one of the real memories for that is via that film, where you've got all these American teams rocking in there with the big haulers and all that sort of stuff, and here's the New Zealand team. I think it was a Hertz rental truck or something with a couple of bits of wood hanging out the back of the midget car.
8x2s on the back to get it up on the trailer. I mean, it was a great wee documentary, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And full credit to everyone that got him behind that. And I think if you put down the top 20 achievements in midget car racing in New Zealand history, whether at home or abroad, that's got to be right near the top. They really put themselves on the map. And there is that thing, if the Yanks don't like it, they're going to ban it. And perhaps they went a little too well.
Yeah, well, there you go. Brad Mosen, a living legend now. Him and Michael Pickens, certainly the most well-known names in midget car racing. And continuing with Bay Park Speedway, we seen a frightening moment for our very own Matthew Leversedge in one of the sprint car races. Matthew got caught up with Greg Pickerel and turned right hard in the front straight, and that car took very, very serious damage. So not good stuff for the 3NZ driver Matthew Leversedge. Well, the Access Man New Zealand Midget Car Title is here on the 3rd and 4th of February. AJ, this is going to be a great event.
Oh, it is. We last hosted it in 2020, and if we get even close to what a memorable show that was, it's going to be an absolute barn burner.
Yeah, Michael Pickens taking that out, and Louise, there was a few Americans here that year as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the greatest midget weekends I think that Ruapuna will ever have. So as AJ said, hopefully we get even close to it with this next title. But it was really cool because I think what made it so special was all of the Americans that we had. They just continued on from that international series at Western Springs and came back following the Chili Bowl to compete in that event for us, which was really cool. And we had Zeb Wise, Tyler Courtney, Zach Dahm, Logan Seavey, and others as well as Caden Brown from Australia. There was plenty of them, and it really elevated the field, and it was cool to see them have some decent results as well. And also, just having them at Ruapuna is something to be really, really special for everyone that was there.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and all of those drivers have gone on to be very big superstars in America. Caden Brown was very unlucky that weekend, wasn't he? I think he could have won that title, all for a small part that failed.
Yeah, he was in the United Truck Parts car, and he was just turning the field into mincemeat. Another memory I have of it was actually how competitive our local boys were. They all rose to the occasion. They put on a whale of a show, and we may not have the international content quite to that number this year, but I think our South Island boys are up for the challenge.
Well, certainly they're going very well, and I think Tom Lumsden, if he can get that car sorted out, he's going to be a real hope in the title. Tom was very understated on the show last week, not talking himself up too much, but that XB4 power plant from Angus MacDonald is certainly delivering the goods. Okay, folks, a big announcement here from Ruapuna Speedway. We've got Methanol Madness Sprint Week has now been extended to 4 meetings. So it was originally 3 meetings over 7 days, and we've now got the extra meeting on Friday, the 5th of April, which is for the BT for Mates Midget Race. So 4 days of racing over 8 days, Louisa. That's going to be a heck of a day to be down at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge, Ruapuna Speedway.
Oh, I think it's going to be absolutely awesome, and I think that the crowd numbers will reflect that, and I know that the drivers and the crew and everybody that loves the sport will be just as equally as excited. I think that the calibre of drivers that it'll bring from all over the country and the globe, I'm sure, I think it'll be really epic to see how that comes to fruition.
Well, you're exactly right. We will have 2 American sprint car drivers there. We'll have the very best midget car drivers from the North Island, and AJ, plenty of sprint car drivers coming down for this one as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really good, isn't it? And Ruapuna's starting to get that sort of slot in the calendar at the thick end of the season. It's great. I better go and see the boss and get some time off.
Exactly. The next announcement from the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway is the Last Man Standing promotion is happening on Carnival Fireworks Night on December the 2nd. And Louise, can you tell us a wee bit about the Last Man Standing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a very unique sort of kind of a short feature race that will include the sprint cars, obviously. So we're looking at about 8 cars. Every 4 laps, the last 2 cars will drop off. And then it'll carry on like that until we only have 4 cars left. And those cars will be whoever crosses the line first takes all the cash. So I think it'll be interesting. It'll be cool to see which drivers get selected for that group and how good of a show they put on.
Yeah, pretty exciting. We've seen some of this stuff happen in America, and it really encourages kamikaze passes and some manoeuvres that you may not see in a regular race. So fingers crossed it goes pretty well, and we're pretty sure that the crowd will enjoy this. It's a real fast, quick format, and this will include the 2 Americans, which leads us on to Joel Myers Jr. and Brenham Crouch. They'll be at our next meeting, AJ, and great to see the Americans here for the sprint cars.
Yeah, it is. Firstly, what a great thing, the Last Man Standing, Gavin Cox Furniture and Joinery Vision and Speed Art, getting them behind that so that it happens. And what I'm picking is that, one of the drivers, the likes of Bailey Patterson, you give a guy like that a little bit of a sniff, and he's going to be in him. What the winner walks away with one heck of a cash prize in their back pocket.
Yeah.
December 2, the American boys start here, so they are looking forward to it, as are both the car owners. I was talking to Kevin Freeman, and he just cannot wait to have Brenham Crouch in that machine, and of course Dan Anderson and Joel Myers Jr. Great relationship there, and what I sense is that Joel will actually bring the best of Dan out on the racetrack as well.
Yep. Absolutely. So if you haven't been down to the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway for a while, there's a whole heap of features coming up, and these 2 American boys, it can't be understated. Brenham Crouch is an absolute superstar. My pick is he's better than Joel Myers Jr. Joel will hate me telling you that, but those 2 boys actually flatted together for a whole season, and they're about the same age, so really exciting to see 2 teenagers coming down from America. They're both Californian flyers, and I can't wait to see them on the track. Well, time to announce our winners in our Share and Win competition. Remember, if you win this competition, you'll win 2 family passes to this weekend's meeting at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway. Louise, who were the lucky winners?
This week's winners of our competition are Carl Burt, Monette Wall, Kazera Manu, Leslie Stewart, Mary Cusden, Michael Wood, Angela Stammers, Belinda Mathewson, Brendan Snelling and Jess Menzies.
Yeah, congratulations to all you winners. It'd be great to see you all down at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway, and of course you get to bring another family with you. So these promotions are working pretty good, AJ. We're getting lots of traction on our Facebook page, and people are really sharing out what they see at Ruapuna Speedway.
Yeah, they are, and it is a big family occasion. That's what's happened. It's sort of ebbed into something that's just, a really special night out. It is the last sort of bastion of the good old family show, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think we're the old school entertainment venue that's still going here in Christchurch. And this week, watch out for the T-shirt cannon, a new innovation at the track, and they'll be biffing a few T-shirts over the fence for all the youngsters to see if they can grab one. Time to move on to the Pro Ben preview of our next meeting at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge Ruapuna Speedway, and it's the Canterbury Championship brought to us by Veggie Direct. The first class we'll look at, Lou, we might get your thoughts here. The quarter midgets, there's a whole heap of runners there. Who are some of your favoured runners for the title?
I think definitely Jack Brownlee's has got to be up the top for that Canterbury Championship. He's obviously won it the last couple of years and he's definitely a favourite, but we can't forget that the Thompson boys will be coming over as well, and they showed that they were great competition for Jack last time we raced at Ruapuna, so I think that between those guys and then the Clark siblings as well, I think that there'll be a great show.
Yeah, for me it's Darcy Rasmussen showed the best form this year, and I know you like him as well, AJ. Who would your pick be for the Canterbury Championship?
Yeah, if you sort of start throwing them into the blender and that, Jack Brownlee's will be very, very tough to beat. The Thompson boys, and they've got it in their blood. They're great. I'm a big fan of Darcy Rasmussen, so I'll put a fiver on Darcy.
He's certainly the up and comer, and he was the driver that used to have that transparent quarter midget. Not so this year. He's got a regular quarter midget, and he's certainly one of the better drivers to look out for. The TQs will be missing a couple of competitors. I know Tyler Warnock's not here for the Canterbury Championship, choosing to go up to Nelson in preparation for the New Zealand title. But Louise, who are some of your picks?
Yeah, again, another really strong field of TQs. I think after Scott Bailey's performance on the weekend, I think that he could be a big favourite, obviously with no Tyler Warnock, who I would probably pick, but between Scott, Aaron Finlay, I'd like to see Ethan's luck get turned around a little bit, see him landed on the podium at least. So I think that there's plenty of guys that have a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before Ethan, your brother, gets a podium. He's got that car really going very well, and there's just the odd mistake that creeps into his driving just at the moment. But for such a young driver and going so quickly after being a quarter midget driver, he's really adapted beautifully to the TQs. Ricky Brett, if he's in town, I'm not sure of the driver lineup for me, AJ, but Ricky Brett has returned, and we remember about 3 years ago he made a cameo performance and went up to Auckland and took out the New Zealand TQ title. He's a class act.
Yeah, he is. What do they say? Form is temporary, class is permanent. So if Ricky Brett's there, he'll be tough to beat. Ethan Smith, he's going great guns. Sentimental favourite, Kimberly Yateman. The Dirt Flirt, she's been racing around for a long, long time, but, give her a chance. If she has some good qualifying in that, she runs a line that is very, very tough for anyone else to sort of get by. So, it's going to be a very evenly fought contest, I suggest, for the TQs.
Yeah, I agree with Kimberly. She has had the fastest lap times every time she's raced this year. So Ivan's got that car really tuned up and performing well. And you're right, if she gets a track that suits her, she's very hard to pin back. Time to move on to the V6 wingless sprints, and Shooter Hawkins would be the favourite here. Sentimental favourite, we think, possibly the fan favourite. But it'll be Andrew Gregg. I think he's the current champion, and Sam Johnson for me. Who are your thoughts there, AJ?
Yeah, I was rapt to see Sam Johnson have such a good run. Of course, Shooter, he's a showman. So, I love people that race with a bit of flair. Luke Shearing's coming up from down south. There's several drivers from down Cromwell Way, I believe, that are coming up for it.
Yeah.
It's going to be another tough competition. The lazy fiver for Cup Week goes on Shooter Hawkins by a nose.
By a nose or a bent wheel, who knows. So the next class we'll go on to is the sprint cars. Jamie Duff for me would be an outstanding favourite here. He is on fire at the moment, but I've got a soft spot for Bailey Patterson at the moment. He's a real crowd performer, isn't he? And he's just young, full of enthusiasm. He's trying to control that 900 horsepower sprint car of his, and he's doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, absolutely dead set correct on both counts. Do not discount the Sheriff. Jaden Dodge, if things bounce his way, he's going to be in there with a chance. Connor Rangi, of course. What are we looking like? 10, 12 cars, but boy, there's some quality in there.
Absolutely. Louise, who's your sprint car pick?
Yeah, I think it'd be far-fetched to go away from Jamie Duff, especially after the last couple of weeks he's had. But Matthew Levisage will be making his return to Christchurch as well. I think he'll be a strong contender, as well as Connor Rangi, I think, has got a really good shot.
Yeah, of course, we haven't seen Matthew this season. He's been campaigning up in the North Island, and it was a hell of a shock, that big crash that he had the other day. Good to see they've got that car all straightened out, and we get to see the 3NZ on track. The last class we'll look at is the midgets, and man, the midgets are starting to look good here, AJ. We've got lots happening. Of course, Liam McCurry is probably my pick. He's going for his third Canterbury Championship in a row, but that Tom Lumsden car, the return of Jack Lowe, and young Mitchell Hill going as well as ever.
Yeah, Mitchell Hill, he's a guy that has sort of battled pretty hard over the last few years, and he's one of those competitors that every turn of the wheel is building that experience. Ex-stock car driver, loves the midget cars and so on. Lumsden, if they can keep the XB4 going, man, he is going to be so hard to pin back. Liam McCoubrey, he's got all that experience that he can draw on from Selwyn Everett. Jack Lowe's the man for me.
Jack Lowe, okay. Louise, your pick?
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably maybe play it a little bit safe and go with Liam, but I think that if we can add Tom into that mix with Liam and Jack putting on slide jobs like they did at Ellesmere on Sunday, I think that those three are really going to put on a great race for everybody.
Yeah, that was a great performance watching those two guys racing. And joining us on the show is Liam McCoubrey. Welcome to the show, Liam. You're just coming into a nice bit of form at the moment, and you had an incredible battle with Jack Lowe. I know he eventually got you in the feature, but that must have been one of the most enjoyable races you've ever had.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Just we got a lot of respect for each other, so just raced each other hard and real clean. And when the track allows you to race like that, I mean, it was so much fun, just right on the wall, and just absolutely going for it. So how it should be all the time.
Yeah, it's good form for early in the season, and we've seen you attempting some slide jobs at practice day. You almost blew it the first time, but you got it under control that second time. What's it like biffing your car in as quick as you can go into a corner and hoping like heck it'll stick?
It can be a bit sketchy at times, but I've always liked to throw the sliders. I used to try it in the TQ, and it was probably to my detriment, overdriving it a wee bit. But in the midget, you can definitely give it to it, and they stick pretty well when you stand back on the throttle. But you got to be a bit careful. You can kill your momentum pretty easy if you get too aggressive with it. So hopefully the weather holds out for Saturday, and the track gets nice and wide and smooth, and we can put on a good show.
Well, if anything like Ellesmere gets performed on Saturday, it will be a great show, and you're certainly going as well as ever, mate. What are your thoughts going into your third title? You must be reasonably confident. You've got a good team behind you, and you certainly have the skills to drive that midget car. Not too many people can really change their driving style as often as you have to.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the pressure's on a wee bit. Just trying to win our third one in a row. But we'll just treat it like a normal race and go do our thing. Admittedly, we were a wee bit off on opening night. I think that rain sort of just caught us out a wee bit. But we were back on form at Ellesmere, so I'm not too worried there. It won't be easy by any means. Jack's really fast at the moment. Tom's lightning fast at Ruapuna. Plus Mitchell Hill's going real good. There's lots of other guys. So we'll have our work cut out, but hopefully we can have two solid heats and be there in the feature.
I think you're right. The quality of the midget car driving is pretty good at the moment, and certainly lots of form across the whole field. Liam, just final question, mate. What's your favourite track? You seem to be able to drive dry, slick and grippy tracks, but what's your preference?
I've always been a fan of sort of smooth and slick with a bit of dirt out wide and nice and wide, so we can run the top and pull the big slide jobs when we need to get through. But whatever the track is, it's the same for everyone, so you just got to set your car up accordingly and just go for it.
Yeah, exactly. And thanks for joining the show there, Liam. It's certainly going to be interesting to see if you can get your third Canterbury Championship, and we think this will be the hardest one for you to get. We've already talked about Tom Lumsden, Jack Lowe, and a few other runners there, and it's going to be an intriguing battle, AJ.
Yeah, it is, and one of the things I really like about Liam is that he just doesn't get rattled, and he's not saying a hell of a lot, but I would say they're quietly confident that they're going to do the business, but they also know the challenge that's in front of them. One real big thing that they've got in their back pocket is they know that car inside out and back to front. There's nothing unproven or otherwise about it, and Selwyn Everett's sort of book of tricks covers every sort of racetrack, probably with the exception of snow.
Absolutely. I've seen that book of tricks too, mate, and everything is itemised, and he's got a diary that goes back years and years, and certainly he'd be one of the best set-up guys around, and good to see Selwyn still continuing with the midget car involvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the end of the show, folks. We're all looking forward to Saturday down at the Racecourse Hotel and Motor Lodge, Ruapuna Speedway. Remember, the gates open at 4:30 and the dirt starts flying at 6. My thanks to AJ Batt, Louise Smith and Brad Mosen and Liam McCoubrey for being part of the show tonight. And until next time, keep your foot up it.